Good morning everyone, welcome to all 4 e-learning classes. This is Zoology subject, chapter excretory products and their elimination, session 12. So now it is osmoregulation. Osmoregulation in the sense the process of maintenance of the balance of the fluids and salts in the body. Its balance in the body is very essential. Already we discussed that the dehydration may kill a person quickly than do the lack of the food. So balance of the fluids and salts are very essential. This process of maintenance of the balance of the fluids and salts in the body is named to be the osmoregulation. This osmoregulation is monitored and achieved by the hypothalamus, juxtaglomerular apparatus and heart. These are the three parts which play a role in the maintenance of the balance of the fluids and the salts in the body. And hypothalamus in the sense we know very well, it is the part of the brain, that is brain is the forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain again the olfactory lobes, then cerebrum and diencephalon are parts present. Diencephalon is the part ventrally, it is said to be the hypothalamus. It is the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is the part of the diencephalon which monitors and regulates the osmoregulation process. Next, JGA, juxtaglomerular apparatus. Juxtaglomerular apparatus in the sense it is the combination of juxtaglomerular cells, JG cells plus the macula densa together what said to be the juxtaglomerular apparatus. We have already discussed while the structure description summary of the nephron, where juxtaglomerular apparatus in the sense juxtaglomerular cells, JG cells plus macula densa. The combination of the juxtaglomerular cells plus macula densa, generally the epithelial cells of the DCT, distal convoluted tubule, which is made up of simple cuboidal epithelial cells which are of the cube shaped, but there are certain cells which are the column shaped, which are arranged in a very thick fashion. Densa refers to thick. The dense arrangement of the epithelial cells in the DCT what referred to as macula densa. And the JG cells in the sense, already we discussed regarding the macula densa, which is a chemoreceptor, provide the information to the JG cells. What information? Information about the osmoregulation, that is if the blood pressure in the, that is if the glomerular filtration not taking place, this is detected by the macula densa, which are of the information providing the structures macula densa. And the JG cells are the smooth muscles of both afferent and efferent renal arterioles are modified to form juxtaglomerular cells. The smooth muscles of the afferent and efferent are modified to form the cells named to be the JG cells. These JG cells receive the information from macula densa of the reduced glomerular filtration that is detected by the macula densa and provide to the JG cells. Then JG cells secretes renin, RENIN, and this is how it forms. It is forming the juxtaglomerular apparatus. And heart also some extent play a role in this osmoregulation. So first of all we'll discuss how about the hypothalamus. Generally when dehydration takes place, what do you mean by dehydration? Loss of water from the body. That is when dehydration takes place, loss of water from the body. Water is not absorbed, but else it is lost. Under that condition, this is detected by osmoreceptors present in the kidney, that is in the nephron. These osmoreceptors that detect the dehydration or else the loss of the body fluids from the loss of the fluid from the body is detected by osmoreceptors. And these osmoreceptors activate the hypothalamus and it activate once the loss of the fluids from the body takes place, osmoreceptors activate, and this activated osmoreceptors activate the hypothalamus. This is what a hypothalamus, and this hypothalamus where neurosecretory cells are present, and these neurosecretory cells are nucleus. Already we discussed neurosecretory cells are also named to be the nucleus. Neurosecretory cells named to be the nucleus, which release the hormone named to be the antidiuretic hormone or else the vasopressin. Antidiuretic hormone and vasopressin are released, synthesized. Better it is secreted or synthesized in the new hypothalamus, which contain neurosecretory cells. And this hormone named to be the antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin through the hypophyseal nerve tract or else the nerve fibers, the group of the nerve fibers reach into the neurohypophysis or else posterior part of the pituitary, from where this ADH released into the bloodstream and reaches the nephron where it gets filtered, and ADH influence is at the DCT and collecting duct. Recall your memory. Facultative reabsorption in the sense the regulated and the conditional reabsorption of the fraction of water and salts is what named to be the facultative reabsorption, which means when dehydration or loss of fluid takes place, osmoreceptors of the nephron activate, and they in turn activate the hypothalamus, which secretes the ADH, antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin, which show influence in the DCT and the collecting duct. And this ADH or vasopressin is of reabsorption of it play a vital role in a reabsorption of water or else retention of water. Thereby it prevents the diuresis, loss of water from the body. That is what it is referred to as antidiuretic hormone. Anti means against. Against what? Diuresis. Diuresis in the sense loss of water. So this is how the water reabsorption takes place, by means of a feedback mechanism. It is very, very important. You have to remember. Feedback mechanism means taking from some certain sources. So here the source, what source? As there is no glomerular filtration, that is as there is no water reabsorption, all the water is lost from the body is detected by is the feedback. It is nothing but receiving information by osmoreceptors, which give back to the hypothalamus, right? And hypothalamus get activated, release the ADH, which play a role in the reabsorption of water. And ADH also have one more function, that is constrictor effect on blood vessels, This constrictor effect, what do you mean by constriction? Narrowing. This constrictor effect of the ADH on blood vessels increases the blood pressure, increases BP, blood pressure. And this in turn also helps in the glomerular filtration. So, what is the problem here? What did we discuss? Osmoregulation, maintenance of the balance of the fluids and salts. But here loss of the water, which is not being, which is against the body, it is showing the adverse effect. So immediately our mechanism, our body should show certain mechanism, that is nothing but the hypothalamus. This loss of water activate the osmoreceptor, that in turn activate hypothalamus, that releases, that synthesizes the ADH, vasopressin, which play a role in reabsorption of water and constrictor effect on the blood vessels at the DCT and CD. So water reabsorption takes place. Right? Once this water reabsorption takes place, naturally the blood volume increases, right? Is it right? Once the sufficient of the water is absorbed, immediately the osmoreceptors get off, or else the osmoreceptors get off, and they do not activate the hypothalamus, and release of the ADH or vasopressin is also stopped. So this is how the control and regulation of the fluids takes place, which is what need to be the negative feedback. Why? It is not that the deficiency of water continuously takes place and reabsorption of water for a prolonged period. No, once the normal levels of once the optimum levels of the water in the body fluid reaches, it gets off. That is what negative feedback. Feedback mechanisms are two. One negative feedback and another is the positive feedback. Here we discuss the negative feedback mechanism. When there is a low content of water, the ADH is released more. Once it reaches the normal, the ADH is decreased. This is negative feedback. When water levels are more, ADH will be less. When water level are the low, ADH is more. This is how it is referred to as negative feedback mechanism. This is how the ADH maintains the water content in the body by influence of the hypothalamus. This is how osmoregulation is maintained. For suppose if the ADH is deficient, if the ADH is deficient, what are the consequences? If ADH is deficient, the water reabsorption does not take place. Constrictor effect on the blood vessel does not take place. So water lost, water go on removing in the form of urine. This is excessive urination, which is said to be the deficiency of ADH results in a condition named to be the diabetes insipidus, not diabetes mellitus. I repeat, it is diabetes insipidus, where low BP takes place. Why? As ADH deficiency is there, water is not absorbed, and moreover, volume of the body fluid does not increase, and constrictor effect is not shown, so low BP. This is what referred to as diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus, insipidus in the sense tasteless, means diluted urine, a large amount of water. Generally, how much amount of the water that is urine is excreted per a day? 1.5 to 1.8. But in a diabetes insipidus patient, 20 liters of the water is lost through the urine. Excessive loss of water, so results in the loss of water, low BP, and thirsty. That is one do get a feeling of the drinking water. That is, deficiency results in a diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus, diabetes mellitus are different conditions. However, it is due to the hormonal defect. The defect of the insulin results in diabetes mellitus. This is diabetes insipidus due to deficiency of the ADH or vasopressin or defect in its receptors even. That's what diabetes insipidus, characterized by excessive loss of water, about 20 liters, normally 1.5 to 1.8 liters of the water, one urinate per day, and low BP and thirsty are the conditions diabetes insipidus due to defect in the ADH deficiency or else its receptors. So this is how the ADH is regulating the water balance, osmoregulation. How the hypothalamus monitor and regulate the osmoregulation we have discussed. Let's move on to the second part, name it to be the JGA, juxtaglomerular apparatus. This diagrammatic information where we discuss the how the ADH taking place at DCT and is collecting duct, right? Now we'll go for the juxtaglomerular apparatus. The juxtaglomerular apparatus refers to juxtaglomerular cells plus the macula densa. Juxtaglomerular cells and macula densa. Macula densa in the sense the cells, the epithelial cells of the DCT are what arranged in a dense fashion, named to be the macula densa, and the smooth muscles of the afferent and efferent are modified to form the cells named to be the juxtaglomerular cells. Juxtaglomerular cells and macula densa together juxtaglomerular apparatus. Recall your memory, the diagram earlier we have seen, that is this is the JG cells and this is the afferent and this is the efferent renal arteriole, and here are what the juxtaglomerular cells, none other than the modified smooth muscles of the afferent and efferent. Here this macula densa is acting as a chemoreceptors which provide the information of the low glomerular filtration or low BP. Generally, when there is a low blood pressure, naturally glomerular filtration rate is also low. When do ADH is released from the synthesized from the hypothalamus? When there is a dehydration, loss of fluid. In the same manner, the juxtaglomerular apparatus respond when the glomerular filtration rate decreases or blood pressure decreases. When the glomerular filtration rate decreases. This is detected by macula densa and gives signal to the JG cells. JG cells secretes a enzyme like hormone, name it to be the renin, RENIN. This renin is a what act upon angiotensin. I repeat, renin, RENIN act upon angiotensin. Nosen refers to the inactive. It is synthesized from liver. This angiotensin in presence of renin is converted into angiotensin 1. This angiotensin 1 by angiotensin converting enzyme, I repeat. And one more point you must keep in mind, renin is acting on what? Angiotensinogen. So it is also referred to as Angiotensinogenase. Angiotensinogenase. Why? AS is what? The catalyst. Proteins, protease, lipids, lipase, right? So renin or angiotensinogenase act upon angiotensinogen and convert into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin converting enzyme. It is secreted when the blood flow through the lungs. ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme, convert the angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2. Right? This angiotensin 2 stimulate the secretion of aldosterone. Aldosterone. What is aldosterone? However, this information we have discussed earlier. There is a role played by the hormones in a distal convoluted tubule and a collecting tubule. That is, angiotensin 2 stimulate the adrenal cortex to secrete corticoid hormones. That is the mineralocorticoid, name it to be the aldosterone. Why it is a mineralosterone? Mineralocorticoid aldosterone. It stimulates the absorption of the sodium, and also certain extent of water. Understand? So aldosterone stimulates the absorption of sodium. Sodium in the sense minerals, right? That's what it is, a mineralocorticoid. The mineral called sodium is absorbed along with the water. So naturally blood volume increases. When blood volume increases, blood pressure increases. So glomerular filtration rate what increases? Is it right? At what condition? What is the purpose of this JGA? That is to monitor the osmoregulation. If glomerular filtration does not take place, is it that the fluids and salts concentration maintained? No. When there is a low glomerular filtration rate or low blood pressure, that is detected by JG cells by receiving the information from macula densa. This juxtaglomerular cells release renin. Renin act upon angiotensinogen and convert it into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin converting enzyme act upon angiotensin 1 and convert it into angiotensin 2. This stimulates the adrenal cortex to secrete the mineralocorticoids, name it to be the aldosterone. This aldosterone absorb the sodium and also certain extent of the water by activating the ADH. This is how the water and ion absorption takes place, leading to increasing in the blood pressure. Thereby it maintains the norm, it increases the blood pressure, so glomerular filtration rate increases. So GFR is normalized. GFR is normalized. Understand? GFR takes place, glomerular filtration rate. This system is named to be the RAAS. 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 What does it mean by RAAS? Renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Renin angiotensin aldosterone pathway or system. So RAAS system maintains the glomerular filtration. Now let's move on to the heart. How heart regulate and monitor the osmoregulation. So as the aldosterone secreted, so absorption of sodium and the water absorption and secretion of potassium also takes place. This causes increasing in the blood pressure, right? Is that the blood pressure is to be maintained at a normal condition, or it should be increased to go on? No, it has to be maintained normally. When it is decreased, it increases, and it increases such that if it is go on increasing, so naturally the glomerular filtration takes place, then the blood get filtered, enter into the efferent renal arteriole to peritubular capillary net, then into vasa recta, then renal vein, then reaches the postcaval vein, then into the heart. Is it right? As it is flowing in the high blood pressure, this is detected by the heart. When the blood is flowing through the heart releases atrial natriuretic peptide hormone or atrial natriuretic factor. I repeat, ANP or ANF. ANP, this is ANP. ANP or ANF, atrial natriuretic peptide or atrial natriuretic factor. This is released from the heart. What does it do? The ANF or ANP dilates the blood vessels. Dilate. What do you mean by dilation? Dilation of the blood vessel causes the decreasing in the blood pressure, which means the glomerular filtration rate is normalized. This is how the heart, when blood pressure increases by the action of the aldosterone, is what normalized by dilation of the blood vessels by releasing hormone atrial natriuretic peptide or atrial natriuretic factor. That is the reason why ANP is considered to be the counter check to the RAAS. ANP or ANF is considered to be the counter check. What do you mean by counter check? Which means it stops counter check to RAAS. I repeat, the ANP or ANF is considered to be the counter check to RAAS, which means RAAS increases the blood pressure, ANF decreases. This is how the glomerular filtration and blood pressure is regulated and monitored. So this is how the body fluid and salt concentration is maintained, which is what referred to as osmoregulation. How the osmoregulation is maintained? It is by hypothalamus JGA heart. Hypothalamus is the part of the brain which secretes the hormones named to be the antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin. One more oxytocin also it's secreted. And this is how we do discuss that pituitary, however it is, pituitary gland is with anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. However, it is a master gland, but its hormones release also monitored by hypothalamus. This is the point we have discussed earlier. That's the reason why hypothalamus is to be the master gland controlling center. The ADH, vasopressin, synthesized in the neurosecretory cells or nucleus of the hypothalamus through nerve tract reach into the neurohypophysis or posterior pituitary, which releases the ADH or vasopressin into the blood, and once that reaches at DCT and CD at distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct, it shows its influence in absorption of water, right? And also constrictor effect on the blood vessels, so the water is reabsorbed and increases the blood pressure. Why? Actually, it is released when there is a dehydration or loss of water. That is detected by the osmoreceptors, and osmoreceptors become on and activate the hypothalamus. That releases the ADH, that play a role in reabsorption of water and constrictor effect on the blood vessel. So the water content is sufficient. Once it reaches the sufficient, the osmoreceptors get off. So this is what negative feedback mechanism. And when it is off, the hypothalamus is not activated and ADH is not released. So this is how the water content is maintained normal. If the ADH is deficient or else its receptors defective, ADH is not released, so water reabsorption does not take place. So water lost from the body, which is leading to diabetes insipidus, where instead of 1.5 to 1.8 liters daily, 20 liters of the water, frequent urination takes place, where 20 liters of the water takes place. And low BP, why? ADH causes the increase in BP by constricting the blood vessel, but when it is deficient, low BP and thirsty conditions are seen. That is what we see. And juxtaglomerular apparatus, JG cells and macula densa, juxtaglomerular apparatus. And this is activated when there is a low blood pressure or glomerular filtration rate. When glomerular filtration rate or blood pressure decreases, this is detected by the macula densa, which is acting as an information providing to the JG cells. JG cells release renin. Renin convert the angiotensin into angiotensin 1. And this renin is also named to be the angiotensinase. There's angiotensin 1 by angiotensin converting enzyme converted into angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 stimulate the secretion of aldosterone from the adrenal cortex, which play a role in the absorption of water and absorption of sodium and some extent water. So ions and sodium ions is absorbed, water is absorbed. So blood volume increases, blood pressure increases, and this is how glomerular filtration rate takes place. And that's what it is named to be the RAAS, renin angiotensin aldosterone pathway, which increases the glomerular filtration rate. If this is increases, then the heart releases the ANP, atrial natriuretic peptide, or atrial natriuretic factor, which dilates the blood vessel, thereby decreases the blood pressure. So glomerular filtration is normalized. So this is a feedback mechanism done by hypothalamus, JGA and heart in regulating the body fluids and salts, that is named to be the osmoregulation. Thank you.